That's the Pretenders singing a cover of the Morrissey song "Every Day Is Like Sunday." Today is actually Sunday, May 6th, 2018, and it's a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. I wasn't sure if I was going to get one out today, but because of the weekend was a daddy-daughter weekend, and I didn't know when my wife was going to get home from camping with my son, and there was something I had to do to pick them up and so on and so forth, so I wasn't exactly sure when all the timing was going to be. So I didn't think much about it, but then this morning when I got a text from my wife and she said, yeah, we're going to probably be home about 10. I can go pick them up and do what I need to do up in this area. I figured, okay, why don't I just write some stuff up? So I got a quick episode here. Not a lot of interesting stuff, not like the last couple weeks where there's been like tons of interesting things going on. Not a lot of interesting stuff happening in the first week of May. The temperature is starting to feel more like it's supposed to. More like summer here on the East Coast. Last couple of days was like summer. It's starting. The temperatures are going to start leveling out to be what we're supposed to be spring-like. So we got a couple more weeks of spring, and then we get full-on born to summer. So we sort of missed out on a spring this year, though we are about halfway through. But what's interesting about the first week of May is even though this year there's not a lot of interesting stuff going on that I would like to talk about, unlike the last couple of weeks, as I said, this week it's an amazing amount of stuff happens, and not just the real world, but in geek worlds and so on and so forth stuff. So we'll cover that a little bit. I'll cover what my daughter and I did this weekend, mainly because the last time we had a daddy-daughter weekend back in January, we did a movie marathon, which got her caught up on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And since she's already caught up on that, and we saw Infinity War a couple weeks ago, we weren't going to rehash that this week, so I figure we would do something different. So I got her some movies that I think a lot of you are going to be surprised about that she actually enjoyed. There's actually a lot of stuff about comics this week, and a couple people passed away. No one hugely famous, but still talk about that a little bit. But yeah, a lot of comic stuff, because to be honest, that's more along the lines of what I like to do, but still, I try to mix it up a little bit with food and science, stuff like that. And there's one or two little science things in there and a couple things here. But as I said, nothing really majorly exciting happening this week. And I'm going to try to get through this real quick. It's just been a really off weekend, I think. And I was going to try to get MJ Con and I back together, but I'm just keep worrying that our internet isn't going to be working, and we're not going to be able to do our discussion that we want to, and I might not be able to chat with MJ anymore. So I'm pushing that off for another week. I haven't let him know yet, but he probably doesn't even remember or anything like that, which is fine. I'll contact him next week or this week and let him know. This week coming up is Mother's Day weekend. Next Sunday is Mother's Day weekend. It's also the Flower Festival here in Reisterstown, which is an annual event we have where they take over the front yard of the middle school. It's a pretty big yard of the middle school, and vendors and bands and stuff like that, and they're selling arts and crafts stuff and lots of flower things like that. And all of the main street, when you have these types of events, they get spruced up on it. The decorations are already up, really. They're these fake flower pom things are all over all the stores and the benches and light poles and stuff like that. And yesterday was Free Comic Book Day, which was a big one for our main street. It was my comic book store just moved to Main Street back in November. Technically, it was October, but November was when it officially opened. And actually, November 1st when it officially opened. And that was when it moved in there, and then it officially opened later on. I forget. I have pictures of it, whatever. So we did that. We'll talk a little bit about Free Comic Book Day, and that's all I'm done with. So until next year. So the comic book Christmas has come and gone. In this case, it was kind of not as exciting, just due to the fact that my daughter wanted to watch more movies. And to be honest, I wanted to watch more movies also. And I felt really good that when we got there, the place was hugely crowded, but I'll talk about that in a few minutes also. My usual check I-Day stuff, and some stuff about Infinity War. So as I said, next weekend I'm going to try to get MJ and I to get back up so we can actually talk about Infinity War. And I'm not going to get with Jerry because it's Mother's Day weekend, so she's probably got her plans for Mother's Day. And then after that, maybe I'll hit up Jerry and we'll try to get back connected on that as well. So we'll try to get back into some co-hosting things. Until then, I don't mind doing these solo ones. It's actually more accessible to me due to the fact that I can time it whenever I feel like it. In this case, I was doing my usual 12:30 time that I usually do my show on. And I also am going to try to keep track of all the times I say because I was playing back some of my old episodes. I'm sitting there going it was like a musical band. So I'll try to lower the amount of ums and uhs I had this week, even though I've already passed by a bunch. And you know what? I'll probably be saying them and I won't even realize until after I say it. Like, God damn it, I said it, didn't I? I'm not drinking anything today because I just brushed my teeth. So if I started drinking my Bing cherry juice, it'd be like not really good. So maybe I'll save that for next weekend because it keeps pretty good. Not a lot going on, so we'll cover that up. So again, that was Every Day is Like Sunday by the Pretenders. It's from Soundtrack Boys on the Side. Now, it's interesting how that came about. I started kind of a new job. Kind of. It was a job I'm in my same company, and I had been the production manager since 2011. And when I first got hired in 2007, I did basically the job I'm doing now, which is warehouse manager. Actually, it's more stock manager because warehouse manager is the big boss. But I'm basically in charge of what's going on in the warehouse. So the people who work in the warehouse, the stocking levels, the POs, the shipping area, or rather receiving area, I should say. Shipping area is now completely its own entity. We move somebody up into the position of a shipping supervisor, so they're going to handle that aspect of it. So me and the guy who was the stock manager, we just swapped jobs. So I moved my desk from in the way back of the production area to closer to the front of the warehouse area. So a little bit of mix. And that's actually where I started when I first started working there. When we moved to our new building in 2011, I had still had my job as the assistant manager / stock manager type of thing. And then they realized it was going to be a little too difficult for me to handle everything. So they split up the jobs in half. And it was okay for a while, I guess, and they want to make a change. So who knows? So I had my first week of that. So a lot of it now is downtime. Well, not really downtime because I'm also doing receiving now, which means when we get the orders that the vendor stuff that we need for our orders, that's what receiving does. They check it in, or my receiver checks it in, then gives me the paperwork, and I put it into our system. That way they can draw out from that PO number to go to orders that need to get picked and pulled and sent out. Stuff they were waiting for on those things. So I have to receive that in. So I sat more on my desk this last week than I have probably in the last 2 or 3 years I have been at my production job. So, but it's not too bad because I have my YouTube page, which obviously you're watching it on my show on this, where I have a bunch of playlists, and so I can sit there and I just play my music while I'm receiving stuff. So I happen to be in the mood to play my day playlist, which is the one where I do songs that the titles have a day of the week in it. And also, day, these days, day in the life, stuff like that. Sunny Valley, that's actually the actual Sunday song. So I did it in starting on Monday and going to Sunday. And so there was a song, Every Day is Like Sunday, which I totally forgot about. But when I was making the playlist, I found it, and it's by Morrissey. And I was like, okay, it has Sunday in it. And I put in there because there's a lot of songs that I'd never heard of before that had names of the week in it, but I wanted to have them on there. So I didn't actually hear them until the first time when I played the playlist for myself. And I guess I don't remember listening to Morrissey's version of Every Day is Like Sunday because it would have brought back memories to me. And that's exactly what I did this week. So I decided I was going to play that playlist this week. And I got to the song Every Day is Like Sunday by Morrissey, who actually originated the song. And I started listening to the lyrics, and I was like, God, this is really familiar. But I don't remember this version of it. And I keep thinking about it, what else it could be. And then it sort of clicked, and I kind of remembered I used to play this song all the time when it was done by the Pretenders off of the Boys on the Side soundtrack. So I went to YouTube and typed in Every Day is Like Sunday again and scanned down. It was all mostly Morrissey stuff because he's the guy who originated it, obviously, but then there's the Pretenders version of it. There's also 10,000 Maniacs version of it. So I listened to both of them because I was a big fan of 10,000 Maniacs and Natalie Merchant. I didn't really like her version of it. but I love this Pretenders version of it. As you heard, is kind of this low key country, depressing sort of song. And I played the opening bit because the bit that's been sticking in my head is the chorus, but the chorus is like, every day's like Sunday, every day is cold and gray, how I wish I was not here. But I didn't want to give you the wrong impression that I don't want to be here on my show, because I do. But I like that part of the song better, but I didn't want to portray that. So I put the beginning sequence, which I still like, also on there. So there's a story about the Pretenders, every day's like Sunday. And I figure, you know what, the episode's Sunday. I'm going to talk stuff like that, and why not? I use the song for it. It's a good title for an episode I haven't used before. I really didn't have any other title I could think of for this, so moved on to there. So let's see. Let's just start about this first week then. This is the first week of May. May 6th is today. I'm doing this live. You obviously will be watching it over the next 5 or 6 days. Hopefully more people than 6 to 8 people who've been watching it. One of them is always me when I'm sharing it with everybody. Stop that. But so this week, May began. My mom's 70th birthday was on Monday. That's why last week's episode was called 70 Years Later, because that was my mom's birthday weekend. We're going to meet with her next Saturday, or this upcoming Saturday on the 12th. She's going to come with us to the Flower Festival. We're going to celebrate Mother's Day and her birthday, because she didn't want to celebrate her 70th birthday because she's not into the milestones. And it's, let's see, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. It's 7 months removed from when she lost her husband. So she's still recovering and stuff like that. So she didn't really want to have anything. Plus her sister was coming down from New Jersey to visit and spend the night. So she wanted to get that all organized, straightened, and cleaned up and get ready for that. So that's nice. So we'll see that. We'll see her on Saturday the 12th, and we'll take her to the Flower Festival, which we've done before with her, so she knows about it. And we'll take her to a nice lunch. Up on Main Street, there's a restaurant called Harriman House, and it's really actually fairly nice. My sister Jen had her, not my sister, my cousin Jen had her, rehearsal dinner there long time ago, about 18 years ago, I guess. She's been married longer than my wife and I have been. So we did that. So we're going to do that. So that was April 30th, and that's the end of April. So May 1st started, obviously. May 1st is May Day, which is more of like a Russian holiday, but it's still kind of a holiday people know about. It is also Beltane, which I thought was more of a Wiccan type of celebration. I guess it kind of is, which Beltane is basically the halfway point between spring and summer, is May 1st, and it's their celebration. It's a Wiccan, it's like celebration of May Day. So then I was doing some research on it, and I wanted to actually see more about what Beltane was. And there's 4, obviously, of these types of seasons. They don't quite match with our seasons because, you know, when we celebrate the equinoxes and the autumnal and the vernal equinoxes and then the solstices, they're on the day that they occur. So autumnal equinox, autumnal equinox, which is the first day of fall, falls on September 21st, 23rd, somewhere between there. The vernal equinox is March 21st, 23rd, somewhere in between there. And that's where the Earth and the Earth is the halfway point between the moon and the sun type of thing. So that's where the equinox part comes in. And then solstice, of course, is June 21st, except June 20th on my birthday during leap years. And then the winter solstice, which is December 21st. Those are the first days of summer, winter, obviously. So I guess as Wiccans, when I was looking it up in Wikipedia, they were talking about Irish Gaelic type stuff. So Beltane is basically kind of Gaelic May Day, and it's their celebration of the halfway point between spring and summer, which led me to do the research. And I think all these other holidays, so there's 4 of them that the Gaelic celebrates, and possibly the Wiccan in that case, are all midpoints as well. So like Samhain, which I've used before for a Halloween thing, is a celebration about the midpoint between fall and winter, which I guess would be around November 1st if you think about it, because if May 1st is the Beltane, a halfway point between spring and summer, spring started in mid-March, so you have mid-March and all of April, and then you have May 1st. So then if you want to think about Samhain, fall begins September, so you have that half month and the whole month of October. So then it'd be, so November 1st is Samhain. That's why it's sort of connected to the Halloween aspect of it. I didn't do enough research of it, but Imbolc and Luchtnacht are the winter-summer ones, and I don't know which one is which. And they would probably be the midpoints as well. You think about it, I guess February 1st would be the winter midpoint. If you go by the half month where the seasons change to, and then a full month after it, which make it the halfway point. So you have a full month and then another half month, so it does make sense. So probably February 1st is the winter one, which either is Imbolc or Luchtnacht, and then the summer one would be August 1st. I think Imbolc is the summer one. To be honest, I don't know for certain. I guess I could look it up. May as well do that just to not give out bad information. So let me just do this real quick. And so, of course, then that would be the other one, which would be August 1st. Imbolc. See, this is what it is. St. Bridget's Day, Gaelic traditional festival marking the beginning of spring, most commonly is held on 1st, 2nd February. So Imbolc, actually, so I was wrong. Imbolc is the halfway point between winter and spring. And then Luchtnacht, let me see if I can get a pronunciation of it. Lughnasadh. I guess that's the way I was pronouncing it with the letters we had. Lughnasadh is a Gaelic festival, which is the beginning of the harvest season, August 1st. So, which is the halfway point. So I got that. So that was just kind of an interesting little thing about seasons and holidays and the way the Gaelic perform it as well. So now we got it. So Imbolc is winter, and Lughnasadh is summer. So Beltane was May 1st as well. So May 2nd, for the geeks out there, May 2nd is the Battle of Hogwarts. For those who've read the Harry Potter books, the final battle between Harry Potter and Voldemort in the final book takes place on the early morning of May 2nd. And so every year the Potterheads, which I'm not insulting them, I'm a Potterhead, I admit it completely, we celebrate the Battle of Hogwarts. And J.K. Rowling, every year around that time, she apologizes for killing a character that she did. And this year she apologized for killing Dobby, even though he wasn't killed in the battle. He was killed earlier in the book, but still she wanted to apologize for that. So she's apologized for basically everybody so far since this started. So that was May 2nd. Then May 4th is May the 4th be with you. And that's followed by the Sith one. Let me see. It's I just want to double check and see what May the 5th is. I know it's like May the Sith be with you. May the Sith. Oops. May the Sith. Yes, May the Sith be with you, I guess. So May the Force be with you. Happy Star Wars Day. Yeah, so there's May the 4th. Is there a Sith equivalent of? Yeah, let's read this. It's got to be, but it's like, so yeah, May the 4th be with you, and May the Sith be with you, or something like that. I have to double check that, but I can't find it right now. But again, it's Star Wars holiday things. May the 4th. Technically, it's weird that they did that. I mean, I know it's May the Force be with you is the line, but if you really want to do a Star Wars Day, you'd make it May 25th, which is when Star Wars actually came out for the first time back in '77. But I understand the May the 4th thing, because May the Force be with you, blah, blah, blah. And then they came up just recently with the Sith one. It's going to drive me crazy until I figure this out. I don't want to look there. I want to go to here. Sith. May the Sith. Let's see. I don't know. It's not here either. So it was May the 4th, and then it's May the 5th is something to do with the Sith, so I'm not exactly sure what it is off my head. Yeah, I call myself a geek, but to be honest, I'm sort of out of it, as I said today. So there's that. So that was May the 4th be with you, and then May the 6th be with you thing. And then it's also Cinco de Mayo, which is actually not a holiday really in Mexico. It's a holiday in a place called Puebla, which is where they won a battle there. And if they wouldn't have, that army that they defeated would have joined the Confederate Army, and they might have beaten the Union in the Civil War. So that's why I guess the Americans celebrate Cinco de Mayo a little bit more than the Mexicans do. But they use it because Puebla was in Mexico. They use that as their reasoning to drink tequila and eat Mexican food, and Cinco de Mayo and party and have stuff like that. It's, again, it's like St. Patrick's Day. I mean, the Irish really don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day all that much as well, and it's more of an American drinking holiday. So a lot of these drinking holidays are just sort of like American taking over these small little holidays and turning them into something bigger than they really are. It was also Free Comic Book Day on May the 5th, and that's not always going to be May the 5th. It's going to be the first Saturday in May. And it just happened to be May 5th. So I think next year it's going to be May the 4th. So May the 4th be with you is going to fall on Free Comic Day is going to fall on May the 4th be with you. So there's probably going to be some Star Wars Free Comic Book Days. I mean, there always is some Star Wars free comics anyway. Since I'm there, may as well. And it's also this past Saturday, the first Saturday in May is also the Kentucky Derby. So they had that going on also. So the week has been kind of busy this week so far. So good on that. But since I mentioned it, Free Comic Book Day, I've been pushing Free Comic Book Day for the last month or so. It's basically comic book goers, it's comic book fans' Christmas, and you really can't make a case that San Diego is comic book goers' Christmas or comic book collectors' Christmas, because not everybody goes to San Diego. So everybody can participate in Free Comic Book Day. They just go to your local comic book store and you get your free comics, and that's the whole reason why they did this. It's only been about 18 years since it started, I would assume. I'm thinking because it was just still in its early infancy when I went and worked for Diamond in 2002. So it must have been sometime in that area. And I kind of remember some aspects as well, because when they first created Free Comic Book Day, they were connecting it to the popularity of the movie. So it might have been 2001, because 2000 was the release of the X-Men movie. And it did very, very well in the theaters. So it surprised a lot of viewers that, oh my gosh, people actually want to see superhero movies again after the disasters of the 1990 superhero movies. So the X-Men came in and they staked a claim in 2000 that, okay, comic movies maybe are coming back. And you could make a case that that was the beginning of this renaissance, and Marvel was just the one that fine-tuned it. So X-Men basically started that, because then in 2001 is when Spider-Man came out. And I guess that one, I know it did really well as well. And I'm trying to remember if there was there had to have been a Spider-Man movie or Free Comic Book Day around that time, because the one I remember is in 2004. 2004 is when I moved into this house. And at the point when they had created Free Comic Book Day, it was just a random day. The guys who created it were comic book store owners, and they sent out, through their connections to other comic book places in the country, hey, when do you want to do this? Every year we're going to have to vote on a Free Comic Book Day date. So they give a bunch of dates. They give 1st May or Memorial Day weekend, or sometime in June, or July 4th weekend, or sometime in there. And everyone voted on it, and they decided, okay, this is the day it's going to be. So the majority vote got where Free Comic Book Day is going to be. Now, the majority of the vote usually went to the first Saturday in May. But in one year, in 2004, and I remember this distinctly, 2004, I was still working at Diamond, and we were able to buy stuff from Diamond. And when they first announced the products for Free Comic Book Day for 2004, there were shirts. And I wanted a shirt for Free Comic Book Day because I like Free Comic Book Day and I want to go out there and I want to show it off a little bit. So I bought the polo for Free Comic Book Day, because that point was it was going to be on July 3rd, because Spider-Man 2 was coming out July 2nd. So they were going to team it up with the Spider-Man movie and then July 3rd. So that was the only time Free Comic Book Day was in July. Every other time it was that first weekend in May, because that's usually when the X-Men or the X-Men sequels came out. and I'm trying to remember. There's got to be a time frame in there. I don't think. I guess X-Men 2 came in there somewhere between 2002 2003, so they had to connect something to that. I'm trying to remember if there was another superhero movie that came out during that time that connected to that, and I don't think there was. But that was the thing. And then after a while, they're like, after that July one, they're like, you know what? Why do we keep connecting it to a comic book movie? Because there might not be any more comic book movies online, because this is before they thought they would be popular. I mean, you had the Batman Dark Knight ones, but then Spider-Man 3 came out and it wasn't doing so well, and the other X-Men 3 wasn't doing so well. So it was like, okay, we might be going back downhill. So we really shouldn't just hope that there's going to be a comic book movie that we can connect Free Comic Book Day to, which when you're starting out, that makes sense, because you go see the comic book movie. It's like, hey, let's go visit the local comic book store and see comic books that are connected to the character we just watched the movie. And hey, look, there's free comics. Let's get them. So it made sense to start out that way. But then once they started getting their feet upright, and they realized, okay, we actually should not confuse people. Let's just choose a date and make that Free Comic Book Day every year. Regardless if a comic book movie comes out or not, let's just make it Free Comic Book Day. So they all voted that the first Saturday in May would be Free Comic Book Day, because yes, more than likely the Marvel comic book movies or DC comic movies, whatever, would come out that first weekend in May. It's been a scientific fact. And in fact, this year it was supposed to happen again. Yesterday, I shouldn't say yesterday, Friday the 4th should have actually been the premiere of Avengers Infinity War. But they changed it because Deadpool 2, which is coming out May 18th, shifted its date from June 1st to May 18th to would have cut into Avengers Infinity War's takings. So Infinity War said, hey, you know what? We want to have at least a 3-week window. We don't have any competition. So they jumped it to April 27th. And that's why Infinity War came out April 27th. Now, as of now, Avengers 4, which doesn't have a name yet, is slated to come out on May 3rd, 2019, which makes Free Comic Book Day May 4th, because that's the first Saturday in May. So as of now, they're going to get connected to the Infinity War sequel. Now, could it happen again? Sure. I don't think there's not another Deadpool movie coming out, and I don't know of any other superhero movie that might make the jump. Wonder Woman, perhaps, but I think Wonder Woman liked her June slot because she was able to control June for the most part. I don't think she's going to move up that much. But again, I could be wrong, and they could move that up as well. And if they do that, then we're going to have to see, maybe we'll see some shifting. But Free Comic Day is always going to be on May 4th. So as of now, it'll be connected to the Avengers 4, which is coming out next year, which is going to conclude the Infinity War storyline, and pretty much the first 10 years of the MCU, and start on the next 10 years. So they set it for that date. So, and I think for the most part that worked, because this was the first weekend in a long time where there was no Marvel movie that was premiering the day before Free Comic Book Day. Now, Avengers Infinity War obviously is still out, and it isn't going anywhere for at least 2 or 3 more weeks. So they were able to still connect to it because it's still making a lot of money. In fact, it became the quickest film to reach $1 billion gross. So good for them. That was going to be another story I was going to cover, but I figured since I'm already talking about it, let's just bring it up now. So there it is. So now they're aiming for the record of being the fastest to get to 2 billion. So we'll see what happens. It's already made, I think, 100 million this weekend in addition to what they've made, and that's just domestic. So it's made right now 350 million domestic in just 2 weeks. Might have made more if you count the week between last Friday and this Friday, or last weekend, this weekend. So it might actually be more like in the 375, maybe close to $400 million range by now because of those days. Because every day that week, I think there was some sort of record for, highest grossing Tuesday or highest grossing Wednesday or whatever. So it's still fairly popular. And it's going to go at least one more week. It's still got next week also, because as I said, Deadpool's not coming out till the 16th is the proper date. Now you think about it. So it won't be out till the 16th. So you still got another week where you can be in charge of everything, and then Deadpool's going to come in. It's not going to make Avengers Infinity War money, but it's still going to take some of the money away from what people had been to go see Infinity War, and would have cut down on its gross probably if Marvel hadn't have moved it to the 27th. So Free Comic Book Day was the first time, the first one at my store's new location, which is humongous. And the guy who runs it runs the Baltimore Comic-Con, so he's able to get a bunch of creators in there to come in and sign stuff. So he set up in the middle of his store a bullpen sort of area like they have at the con, where you've got tables lined up with all their books on it, and then the writers and the artists are all in the same area, and then there's a billboard, a back wall behind them, and it has all their names and their artwork and what they've done and stories they've done posted on that. So you go up there and you talk to them. It's right by the cash wrap, so the lines for people waiting to buy stuff can sit there and they can talk to the writers and artists, stuff like that. And then the free comic books were on the other side of the cash wrap at the entrance. There's two entrances to the store: the front entrance off of Main Street and a side entrance which is by the parking lot. So if you walked in the front entrance from Main Street, you would go directly to where the free comic books were. And then if you came in from the side entrance, you would lead right into where the creators were. This is also the first year, since they have a nice big parking lot also, that they were able to get hot dogs and hamburgers, stuff like that. Now, we didn't get anything to eat, my daughter and I, because we wanted to get back to our movie marathon, but I wanted to go and support my store. And as I've been saying, they need to pay for the books. So it would be nice if you go in there and buy something. I didn't buy anything because I'd already spent a good amount of money with them this week. So I'd already done I already bought the stuff that I was going to do to help them cover this. And plus, we didn't have a lot of time, and it was crowded, which is really exciting too, because it means that a lot more people came into the store that might not have seen it before or had been waiting. It's like, you know what? I see it on the road all the time. I've never gone in, and then this time they're like, okay, maybe I'll go in this time. And so they saw how cool it is, and maybe they'll start coming back, because that was the whole point of Free Comic Book Day that the retailers created. They wanted to get more people into the comic book stores to buy more product and get more readers and collectors in to make more money for themselves, of course. So it was cool. What was really neat, though, is I saw two former what's the word I'm thinking of? People I used to work with, co-workers, when I worked at Diamond. One was Philip Sablick, who is now a huge bigwig with Boom Studios, which is one of the biggest comic book companies out there now, and one of the biggest independent comic book companies out there now. And he's one of the main reasons why they're where they are now. So he's been out there for close to 10 years now, maybe even longer than that. He's been out there for a while. He left right before I left my position as well as a brand manager, because he was a brand manager. He was for all intents and purposes, he was my mentor. He's the one that trained me on how to do everything, and I spent a lot more time with him. And he created the training for new employees, brand managers. He created that himself. So it was fun to see him. I've been in connection with him over the years on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, but nothing really constant. But when I went to see him, I said hi to him, and he recognized me right away, and it actually was really great. I was just going to shake his hand and talk to him for a few minutes. He actually came out from the bullpen and gave me a big hug, which was awesome. So we talked for about 10 minutes and talked about family, a little bit more about his life, what's going on with that. It's pretty cool. And so my daughter and I were getting ready to leave, and I saw that my former boss, when I was brand manager, Jim Cahork, who was also there, he's a writer for Underdog, was out enjoying hamburgers and hot dogs. He was talking to somebody else, but I didn't want to really interrupt him, so I just said, hey, Jim, how's it going? He's like, oh, hey, how's it going? I don't know if he remembered who I was. He probably did, but he might have been he was already talking to somebody else, and we were already on our way out anyway, and it was starting to spit a little bit with the rain, and we wanted to get back and watch our movies. So, I just did a real quick hello like that. But it was really nice to see Philip again, talk to him for a little bit, and he actually remembered who I was. And we actually had room together when we did the Philadelphia Comic-Con, one of the last Comic-Cons I ever did, where I had to travel. He was my my roommate, so that was pretty cool to see Philip again. And I got some comics, and I don't know if I got everything I was supposed to. It was just there were so many people, and I was just looking at them, and I don't know if I grabbed all the ones I wanted to. I didn't see any from DC, so I might have missed one or two there, and there might have been a few others I missed because there were just people everywhere. And then they had a new wrinkle added where there was somebody there who was watching the books, and they were saying, no more, you can't take more than one of one book. So, like if you wanted to get 2 copies of Amazing Spider-Man, you couldn't anymore. You'd get 1 copy of Amazing Spider-Man Free Comic Book Day. And I guess that makes sense. You want to leave enough for other people to come in and get. Maybe they didn't order as many as they usually do, so they wanted to sort of limit one. But you could take as many of the free comic books you wanted. You just only could take 1 copy of each, which was kind of hard if I was trying to pull stuff for my son, because there might be things that he had that he would have read that I wanted to read also, and I didn't want to take from him. But in the end, I think there's only 1 book that would have interested my son, maybe 2. I think I missed the Sonic one. But there was at least one, and my daughter picked it up. It was Pokemon Sun and Moon. And my daughter got a bunch, and I got a bunch, and so I'll look through them. I haven't had a chance to look through them yet because we did our movie marathon. So Free Comic Book Day is over and done with till next year. Next up, big in the comic world for me locally is Baltimore Comic Con, which is until September. So we still got a little bit of time between then and now and then. But I'll still go to my comic book store every week unless I got to start cutting back on comics. A lot of stuff's going to be coming out this summer. You can find out more about that on my other show, The Comic Hall, which I do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sometimes Saturday. It's out there now. I added the link to my Facebook and Twitter pages, and you come to my YouTube page, you'll find it in my. I have a playlist of all my comic hauls and all my Dylan Knows, so you'll see the latest episodes there, where I show you all the new comics that came out this week. So it's always fun. So we'll do another one of those next week and get you more informed about what is going on in the world of comics. So huzzah for Free Comic Book Day. It's over and done with. We will see you next year on May the 4th. Be with you. So that'll be an interesting one. And I don't think it's fallen on May the 4th in a while. So should be an interesting Free Comic Book Day in that case. Since I already mentioned it, may as well just continue with that. So coming soon. Okay, so what the hell is that I wrote? I did it again. So as I said, this weekend was another daddy-daughter weekend movie marathon. My daughter's now old enough. She's 11 going on 12, and she's old enough now that I think she can handle some of the other movies that I've kept from her from watching, that I've been dying to get her to watch because I know she would absolutely love them. We did the Marvel Cinematic Universe basically starting in January and finished it up before Infinity War. So she's caught up on that. So she saw Infinity War and she knows everything that's going on. And so there's some other ones that we're still waiting on. Like she's still too young for 16 Candles, so I'm dying to show that to her, and a few others as well. She's already seen Ghostbusters, and I was going to maybe try to get her to see the Pirates of the Caribbean or Raiders of the Lost Ark this weekend. That's going to have to wait until our next one, which might not be until the summer. But what we did see instead is still just as cool. We started on Friday. So my wife and son left around 5 o'clock, 5:30 to go to the campsite and get up there at the night, set up their tents and have dinner and stuff like that, and then do a cookout, s'mores, campfire songs, whatever they do up there. They did that. So while they were out there doing that, we started watching while we ate our dinner. She wanted to start watching some TV shows that I was also interested in trying to show her too. Now, I showed her a episode of Buffy before, and she seemed to like it, but this was a couple years ago, and she hasn't asked to see it again. So in the next year or so, I'll probably get her back into Buffy again. But before then, I was talking about some other shows we could watch, and I figured, hey, you know what? Let's see how she thinks about Northern Exposure, because I've been talking about it, and she was interested when she asked me about it. So we watched the pilot episode of Northern Exposure. She liked it, but I don't think she absolutely loved it, which is okay. But then I said, you know what? Let's change it up a little bit. I think you're going to like this show. Your mom and I liked the show, and it came out when we were together, and we watched it together. From TNT, the TV show Leverage. Timothy Hutton is the main star of that one. And it focuses on a group of con men and women who do Robin Hood-esque stuff, where they use their con abilities not for evil but for good. They help out the little guy who's been screwed by big business or the government or whatever, and they do a con on the bad guys and then get the money back or get revenge for the people who were screwed by the good people who were screwed by the bad people. So, and it's a fun, entertaining show. It's got lots of really cool music, and it's funny, and it's action packed, and it has moments of drama in it as well. But it's mostly funny and action oriented, and it's a great series. And we're going to keep going with it because we watched 2 episodes of that. So then after that, she wanted to watch her first movie. So I've been dying to get her to see this movie for years, and she finally acquiesced, and I showed her Spy Kids. I knew she would love it, and she did. And I enjoyed watching it again as well. So that was what our Friday was. Saturday morning, we started off with my favorite Tim Burton movie, Big Fish. And she was okay with it. She liked it, but I don't think she absolutely loved it. But I think she liked it. Then we got her into what she absolutely loved, the next one was Back to the Future. So she saw Back to the Future the first time, and once it was over, she said, I have to see the next one. So, okay, I showed her Back to the Future 2, and that ends on the cliffhanger. So she's like, I was like, no, we need to go, free comic book day, I need to take a shower, we need to get lunch. So we took a breather. So after Back to the Future 2, we went to free comic book day. We actually went to Target also because I had to find something and come back. And then I got lunch ready for her while we watched a different movie. So after a while, she wanted to just suck in what had happened with Back to the Future 2 because it's very dense and there's lots of stuff going on. And the cliffhanger, she was still trying to wrap her head around. She understood it, but just trying to figure out how things were going to work out in the end. So she just didn't. She wanted to wait to see the third one. So then she said she wanted to see Jaws. I was like, okay, we'll see Jaws. So we watched Jaws. So I showed her Back to the Future 1 and 2 and 3 eventually, and Jaws. And then I showed her the movie Pauly, which is a really cute, she loves animals, so it's about a talking parrot. So I thought she'd like that, so she did. Then I showed her the movie The Shadow with Alec Baldwin, which is a great superhero movie, a different one than the MCU, but it's very kind of similar to the MCU because it was an origin story. It has humor in it. And again, much like the early Marvel movies, it's the hero faced off against a villain who's exactly like him type of thing, which is still an entertaining movie. Then she wanted to watch Back to the Future 3 as our final movie, so we watched Back to the Future 3. So she saw all 3 of them in one day and then went to bed. And then this morning, she wanted to watch Tim Burton's latest film, Miss Peregrine's School for Peculiar Children, which is an okay film, and she enjoyed that. And that is our movie marathon for this weekend. So I think we did pretty good, particularly with the Back to the Future movies, and got her into Leverage. So now we'll be able to watch more Leverage. Since those are only an hour, we can watch those like Friday nights, because that's what we did to get her caught up on the MCU. On Friday nights, after we put my son down to bed, my daughter would come downstairs and she would watch an MCU movie. I think we even did it on Saturday night too. Not every weekend, but whenever we could, we did. So that way we were able to get caught up quicker on that. So we might do something similar with Leverage. I mean, she still hasn't finished Stranger Things 2 yet. She's seen the first series, but not the second all the way through. So we'll get into that as well, but we'll get her to see some Leverage. I have all the seasons of Leverage except for the last one. I think I need to pick that one up. I'm going to be doing some Amazon shopping because I got to pick up the last season of Leverage. And I also got to pick up, I got to upgrade my Back to the Future discs to Blu-ray because I bought and I hope they have like a 30th anniversary edition. I had to upgrade them because when I bought the original trilogy on DVD, and I learned this way back when I bought this, like 10, 20 years ago when they came out. When I originally bought it, there was some sort of error on one of the discs that caused a section of the movie to freeze, and you couldn't get past it. You couldn't fast forward through it, and it sort of locked up your DVD player / Blu-ray player. So I had forgotten about that, I guess. But when we got to the climactic scene where George is, trying to protect Lorraine from Biff, and while Marty is stuck in the trunk of the band, the scene where he punches out Biff. It was frozen, so she didn't actually get to see that in the movie. So I just fast forwarded I was able to restart it and then do the scene bit where I took the scene before it, which was with Marty singing Johnny Be Good, and I backtracked to just before just after where it froze, so that it was running fine after that. So we watched the rest of the movie that way. So I need to upgrade that, and I need to upgrade to Blu-ray because I only have DVD copies of it. So hopefully there'll be like a 30th anniversary edition that just came out. 2015 was the 30th anniversary of it, so it's 3 years ago. Hopefully there'll be a 30th anniversary edition of it, and I'll pick that up on Blu-ray and get that in. Probably be affordable, and then I need to get the 5th season of Leverage, and I'll be set. So that was our weekend. So that was nice there as well. My friend, as I said, my friend Philip is from California. That's where Boom Studios is located. He's telling me about where he lives. He's like, he doesn't have to fight that traffic on the 415, which is great. He's only 20 minutes from the airport, and he's in LA County, which he said is about the size of the area between Baltimore and Washington, which is a big area. But I bring that up because California is now the world's 5th largest economy. That's just California. Not the United States, it's California itself is the world's 5th largest economy, which it surpassed the United Kingdom. So California is more has a bigger economy than England does. I think it's United Kingdom. That also means Scotland, I think, as well. So that's crazy to think about that. So, the whole threat with them threatening to secede from the Union until that doofus in the White House disappears, or if he keeps going the way he is, they don't want to be a part of the United States. That doofus is still in charge. So there's been talk about trying to secede from the Union. And if they're the 5th largest economy, and that's just them, they could probably do it. They might be the only state that might be able to do it. I don't know if Texas even has the amount of economy that California does. It's possible. I don't know. But that's just a weird sort of thing. Switching gears a little bit to musical theater. Back in 2000, Mel Brooks came up with the idea of creating a musical version of one of his movies. I don't know how he came up with it. It was like, I think he was the first one to actually do something like that, where he turned his movie into a musical, and that was The Producers. And it became hugely successful. So then everybody started following suit. And now you got all these movies that have come out and have been turned into musical theater. Now, around that time, Eric Idle of Monty Python wanted to do something similar. And he wanted to bring Monty Python and the Holy Grail to musical theater, to Broadway. But he couldn't quite do it just right. Didn't know how to do it. So he had to change some stuff up and mix some things up and create some new things for it, because it's a musical. So he had to create some musical numbers, and he connected some of the other Monty Python jokes and stories and stuff like that to this. And the result is Spamalot. Now, I wish I would have seen Tim Curry as King Arthur when they opened on Broadway. I think that would have been fantastic, but unfortunately just missed my chance. I did see a traveling version of it. Actually, I've seen 2. I saw one down at the Kennedy Center, or one of those theaters down in Washington. I think it was the Kennedy Center. And then one at the Hippodrome with my wife. Actually, both of them I've seen with my wife. And so we enjoyed it a lot. It was a lot of fun. And you get John Cleese playing the voice of God on a recording, so that's pretty funny. So now I just read that they are actually going to be turning it into a movie. So that's the other thing. So you have the musical that's based on a movie, and then they make a movie of the musical. Can you connect the dots? Like Hairspray is a good example. Hairspray is a great movie made in Baltimore by John Waters. The original version, 84, 85, was about segregation in the middle of the 1960s, and it's centered around a dance show that was on after school, which is based on a true thing. I mean, in the 1960s, people liked seeing teenagers dance, and they would call in and say, we want to see such and so, they're popular couples. It was like one of the first reality shows. We want to see these 2 couples lead the dance, and they would do the dance of that. But because it was segregation, they did not allow black dancers in there. They had a black day, like once a month or something like that. But they never let black students be a part of these dance shows. So the basis of the movie is to try to break that segregation and bring black people into the normal day-to-day show of the dance show. And it was great. It's a great movie, great music, stuff like that, but it's not a musical. It's got music in it. It's got a lot of music in it, but it's them just dancing to it, and it's goofy and silly and fun like that. But Waters decided that he wanted to make that into a musical. It's the most obvious one of all of his movies to turn into a musical. So he and another composer created a bunch of songs and did Hairspray on Broadway. And of course, they did a movie version of the Hairspray movie on Broadway, starring John Travolta and Christopher Walken. So that was interesting. So they're doing that now. So now Spamalot, which is based on Monty Python and the Holy Grail, became a musical, and now they're going to make it into a movie. So that should probably be out probably next year, probably, I would say. I don't think it's going to be later this year. I think it's going to be next year, but we'll see. Let's see what time is it. Yeah, it's a little bit after 1. May as well hit this a little bit, just real quick. I won't go into much detail because it's not late night. How about this? A sex book for kids. Yeah, like a children's book about sex. is a real thing. It's not an Onion article or whatever. It's called The Amazing True Story of How Babies Are Made. It's an actual book that is out nowadays, which details literally how babies are made, including pictures of naked mommies and daddies. Now, I don't think you see any of the bits, but you see the mommy and daddy on top of each other. Obviously, you know what's going to happen because you know how children are made. So this is a way, I guess, to tell kids about it in a book, I suppose. Now, in our household, my wife Dawn's a scientist, and she tells it like it is. So I think the kids, I don't think she really sugarcoats it too much. I think the kids might actually know. They don't really care. I know at least Noelle does, because I've started to do some innuendo to Dawn, like faux flirting with her about having sex with her and stuff like that. And my daughter goes, "Ew." It was almost a Freudian slip. I said my wife went "ooh" to have sex with me, which isn't far from. No, I'm just kidding. But that's just kind of interesting about that. Let's do some Infinity War stories. Going from a sex book for kids to Infinity War. Why not? As I said already, it made $1 billion, the fastest movie to get to be $1 billion. No, Gaelic. I did it again. But there is, in a screening of Infinity War in India, there was a moviegoer that, once the movie ended, died of a heart attack. Now, I don't know if that was connected to seeing how the movie ended, or it was just she was already in the middle of some degenerative heart problem and just happened to be coincidental that they had a heart attack after the movie was over. Anything's possible, but that's just it's interesting. I mean, it might not be the right word because somebody actually died, but to have them die at a screening of a movie, after a movie, if not the most popular movie right now in the world, it just seemed kind of interesting to me, I guess. I don't know. What else was there about Infinity War I wanted to talk about? Yeah, it was really... So now that Infinity War is so popular, you get all these companies, stuff like that, who are creating things to jump bandwagon onto the love of Infinity War. So you have t-shirts that are created now and stuff like that. But one of the coolest things I saw, and this will segue to a story about my class ring. You know, when you go to high school and your junior year, you buy a class ring. It's like $100-some, and you get to pick the stone and the color of the ring, and it's going to have your school name on it and the years that you went to that school, like 91 to 95 in my, no, that was college, 88 to 91 were on mine, and it was silver gold, and you get, I think you get the jewel of your choice. A lot of times you pick the jewel that is your birthstone. So I got my class ring, and it was cool. I loved it, you know, and I didn't go to the junior ring dance because, hey, I was a big dork. I was too scared to ask a girl out to the ring dance. I didn't want to go by myself because I was on the steering committee, which created and built the sets and stuff like that, and set up for the dance, stuff like that. And the tradition at my high school was there's this giant paper mache ring that you and your date go through, and that's when you ring each other if you're in the same class, or if you're dating somebody that isn't in your class, they ring you, and then you're supposed to like kiss under there, and then you dance back out, and the next person comes in, and so on and so forth. This is traditional type things. I didn't want to go by myself. So in the end, if you didn't go to the dance, you'd go to the office, and they would have all the rings that were not picked up at the dance there. You could just pick up yours, and voila, you have your ring. And then once the seniors graduated, which was a few weeks before the end of our school year, the juniors technically became the seniors, because there were no more seniors. They'd already graduated. They were done. They were out of school. They were done everything. So the juniors became seniors for like the last 2 to 3 weeks of school. So that's when you turn the ring so that the year, I think you take it off and flip it so that the year of your graduation faces you or something like that. I don't remember the whole process of it. Now, what pisses me off is, I think even before my senior year, somehow my ring got stolen. I don't think I misplaced it because I could never find it, but I remember putting it in my gym locker before gym because I didn't want to break it or lose it or whatever. And then it was gone when I got back down there to get dressed. And I looked around on the floor, I looked in my book bag, I looked in the gym clothes, I looked in my regular clothes because I had switched and more stuff like that. Couldn't find it anywhere. So I only had my class ring, which I spent $100 some on. I didn't even have it for my senior year. And I still didn't have it. I would have liked to have it because I liked my ring. It was nice. So I never found it, so I don't know what happened to it. But my point is about all this is, so these people are jumping on, these companies are jumping on the bandwagon to create these Infinity War things to get people to say, oh, that's really cool. Oh, that's really cool. I'm going to get a t-shirt with Infinity War stuff on it, or other stuff, I make cakes with Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet on, stuff like that. But this is the coolest thing. It is a class ring looking-esque ring. So, I mean, it's got that same sort of style that your class ring does. But instead of the one ring you have all of the Infinity Stones on it. So the ring consists of all the stones that are the same color as the Infinity Stones. Now, you use rubies and emeralds and stuff like that to portray the actual Infinity Stones, but you're actually using real jewelry on this ring, and it's so cool looking. So basically, you have a ring that has all the colors of the Infinity Stones on it, and it's like your very own Infinity Gauntlet, but it's a class ring-esque type of thing. That's really cool. I didn't see how much it cost, but I'd almost be willing to say, you know what? I lost my class ring. Fuck it. Why don't I just go ahead and get one, So I thought that was kind of cool. Where did I have that? No, did I even have that on here? I guess I didn't. I thought I did. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Next up, let's do a little science. There's a new Mars lander that was launched yesterday on its way to Mars now. So we're going to get another Mars lander that I think is going to actually physically drill into the surface of Mars. Now, you guys should know about the conspiracy theories about the Mars probes because Mars is probably the most visited planet when it comes to probes. It's one of the closer ones to us, and it's the one that draws most of the attention because, to be honest, while Venus is really interesting, the pressure and the heat on the surface of Venus would basically probably destroy your lander if you didn't make it strong enough. And if you make it strong enough, it's going to be more money to create these landers to survive on the horrific surface of Venus. Whereas Mars isn't so bad because they are more of a desolate, deserty area. It's colder than on Venus. Venus is brutally hot because basically they have a greenhouse effect going on. Venus is surrounded by humongous clouds, which blocks the direct rays of the sun, but it also amplifies the heat onto the surface. Now, yes, the surface from the pictures we have seen of landers that have landed there before is very similar to all the planets that we've seen, that we've had landers on before. We've seen pictures of what Mars looks like and what the moon looks like, and actually what Titan looks like, the planet, not the planet, the moon Titan. We have pictures of what the land looks like, and it looks the same in Mars and Venus and Mercury and the moon and all that stuff. And Earth, technically, it looks like the desert. So, but the pressure, the gravitational pressure, because it's closer to the sun than we are, and its immense heat causes Venus not to be a planet people want to visit so much. And then after that, Mercury is way too close to the sun. Now they've had some stuff like that, but I don't know if they've ever had a lander or a rover or whatever on there. It's too hot, it moves too fast, and there's really nothing out there. It's pretty much like the moon, basically. There's really nothing that would be of interest to anybody. Mars is a potential place that could have had water at one time, could have been a lot like Earth, and has rumors to have had aliens on it as well, and that life came from there. And then after that, you've got nothing until you get to Pluto, because you have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, which are all gas giants. You actually can't land on those planets because there's no land. It's all gases. And even if you tried to send a probe in there, which we've done before, they destroyed a probe in Jupiter or Saturn, one of those two, because they didn't want to crash on any of the moons. Now, the moons are the ones you're going to want to explore, but they're not planets. Those are the moons. The moons are places you can actually land stuff on. You find interesting things like Europa outside of Jupiter's got what they believe is a giant, massive ocean that covers the surface of Europa. But because it's distance from the sun, it's got frozen ice on top of it. So it's almost like a frozen ocean. But they know that it's there because of the way that patterns on the surface have shown movement under the surface. So they don't want to threaten that maybe there might be creatures that have lived in the ocean there on Europa. So they don't want to crash any of their probes on there because of the poisonous, energy like plutonium and stuff like that we use to power these things. So then you have Pluto, which is way, way, way out there, which would still be cool to send a lander to. But again, it is brutally freezing cold out there. It takes years to get there, and it takes years to get the picture, not years, but it takes a long time to get pictures back and forth. So Mars is the obvious place to go. So we're sending another probe to Mars. It's going to land. It's supposed to drill into the surface and discover what's below the surface, maybe find a cache of water or whatever. So everybody was sending probes to Mars. The European Space Agency, the Russian Space Agency, us, even the Chinese, I think, have sent stuff to them before. And there have been an inordinate amount of these probes that have failed, been destroyed, or something like we forgot to change from centimeters to meters or something like that, so that instead of landing softly on the planet, it crash landed, stuff like that. There's all these weird, bizarre stories of things that happen to all these probes. Now, yes, we've had some probes and landers that have landed safely and it haven't been a problem, but there's been a really lot of these probes that have been sent that have failed. And this is just the next one on its way. Now, is this going to be one where it's going to succeed? Because we really haven't had a failure in a few years. Or is this one going to fail massively also, and it's going to continue with the conspiracy theory that possibly there's something going on that people don't want to see? Now, that's the thing. Where's conspiracy, Dylan? Well, one of the Russian probes that was destroyed was literally destroyed in space. And the last pictures it took was of a Sakar-shaped object coming out of one of the moons of Mars and heading towards it. So that's been a lot of conspiracy theorists' belief that there's an alien, like the moons of Mars are fake and that they're actually alien bases, or that Martians do live on Mars and we're just seeing highly edited pictures from Mars, possibly. And also maybe the fact that one of the probes that was destroyed was going to explore the polar ice caps, which is something that you should be studying. It's one of the coolest places, literally, one of the coolest places to visit, because it's one of the only places that has an icy sort of formation nearby it. So why not go and see what makes up the ice on here and see what, and it's an area that you've never seen before, because you've all seen the pictures of the canyons and the red ground and the giant mountains and stuff like that. You see that all the time, but you've never seen pure ice and snow on a planet, because the probes they've tried to land on the poles have all been destroyed. Now, why is that the case? Could there be something on the in the poles that we don't want, that the Martians don't want us to know, or NASA doesn't want us to know, or somebody within NASA says, "You're launched something there. We can't have that," and they go in and they sabotage it? Anything's possible. So we launched another lander yesterday. And again, Mars, it's going to take about maybe a year and a half to get there. So it's probably sometime next summer, we'll be getting pictures from the surface of Mars again and getting more information about what makes up the Martian surface if the probe doesn't get destroyed. It's a big if right now. Deadpool continues its PR attack. It doesn't seem to be as much PR as the first one, which makes sense, because the first one, nobody really had any idea about the character and didn't really know what to believe about the movie. But Ryan Reynolds did enough PR and did enough cool stuff that people get the idea. So now they know what they're going in for. So the PR for Deadpool 2 has been sort of minimal. I mean, minimal considering what happened the last time the movie came out. But there's a new one, a new video that came out this week of Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds actually literally in his Deadpool costume, crashing one of Celine Dion's concerts in Vegas and singing along with her. So that's kind of a thing. Go check that out on your social media. You'll probably be able to find it pretty easily. Speaking of other comic book movies, Jamie Foxx has been approached to star in Todd McFarlane's Spawn movie. Now, there was a Spawn movie came out back in the 90s. Michael Jai, something or other, I forget his last name, played the titular role of Spawn, who was a black soldier. It was either a white soldier who got turned to a black guy or something like that. I think it was a black soldier who died and got turned into Spawn, the superhero, and that was when McFarlane created and was drawing and writing it for Image till he decided to step away from that. But he's decided that now's the time, with the popularity of Deadpool and Logan, R-rated comic book movies. Now's the time to bring Spawn back, because Spawn is kind of an R-rated horror-esque type of movie. So Tom McFarlane decided he didn't want anybody else to touch his creation, and he wants to take his hand. I mean, he's a comic book writer and artist, so he can pretty much figure out how to be the next step, which is a movie director, because basically the job of the movie director is consolidating the script with the pictures, and McFarlane's been able to do that before, so he's just going to do it on a larger scale. So Jamie Foxx has been approached to be the new Spawn, and to be honest, I think that's actually really good casting. Nothing against Michael Jai, but I think if you want to get people to come to your movie, you want to try to get a star persona, particularly since a lot of people don't know much about Spawn anymore, because Spawn was huge in the 90s, but then nothing has really been happening in this century with Spawn. His comic's still going, but it doesn't appear to be as popular as it used to be. I mean, McFarlane's not even drawing it anymore. He might even not even been writing it. I think he is writing it with Eric Larson drawing the art on it, but I'm not 100% certain about that. So I think it's a good idea, and should be pretty interesting. I guess I should have used this back when I talked about the kids' book about sex, but we've talked about sex dolls before, and also about female sex robots, which have been created to please men who don't want to be with a real woman, which, you're a moron if you don't, but that's besides the point. But it's a sex toy, basically a full-size woman with all the perfect body types that you need, holes in the right places, blah, 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 and can do everything that a woman does, with the exception of you don't have to worry about dating her and buying her dinner, stuff like that. If you're in the mood to have sex, you go and you have sex with this robot. Now, a lot of people say, well, what about the ladies? I mean, I'm sure there's ladies out there now. Well, guess what? There was a article now that a male sex robot with realistic vibrating penis will be coming soon. So why not? So it's only fair. Men and women are now going to be able to have sex with robots, and that's going to be the end of sex with other people, because you can have sex anytime you want with the robots, whereas you sometimes have to wait for when your partner's in the mood. I don't know. It's just, again, it's the danger of putting too much into technology. I mean, right now, a simple EMP pulse could practically cripple the whole world, probably, depending on where it hits, if you hit a couple locations. Because let's face it, all your bank's stuff is all done through the computer now, through phones, stuff like that. Everything you do now is through your phone or computer. It's all done online. You can order stuff, and they'll take stuff out of your credit cards and your bank account or whatever. You can deposit stuff without even having to go into a bank. You can use these credit cards to buy groceries or other stuff at other stores, comic books, whatever, without having to get cash anymore. Everything's automated. Your car has a computer in it that is supposed to keep track of everything for you. Just there's all kinds of stuff. And now you're going to be doing sex robots. Again, if an EMP thing happens, boom, they're done. You're not going to be able to use them. Well, maybe you might be able to, but they're not going to be able to do what you want to do, because supposedly these sex robots, men and women, are supposed to simulate almost perfectly actual sexual encounters with real people. They talk, they feel warm, they will moan, I guess, and they'll do things that actually feel like they're being done to you, type of thing. Well, I'm talking about a lot of sex on a Sunday afternoon, so we'll stop that. Let's cut to a live-action Dora the Explorer movie. There was a funny College Humor trailer that came out a couple years ago where it was to parody a live-action Dora the Explorer movie, and it was fantastic. It made her be more like a Jason Bourne-esque type of person, but keeping the Dora the Explorer stuff going on. And it was really, really funny. But now they are actually going to be making a live-action Dora the Explorer movie. They've cast Dora. I don't remember what the actress's name is, but she has been cast. And I guess it's good for kids. I mean, my kids have gone through their Dora phase already. I mean, I still have you can't see it back here. She's right there, yeah. You can see a tip of it right about there is the tail end of a pillow pal that's Dora that my daughter had when she was younger. So are we going to go see it? Hell no. But the fact that it's going to be out there for kids who are just exploring Dora the Explorer or are in the middle of it right now, it's a good thing for them, I guess. Speaking of something that happened, well, this actually came out after my age group, but it became something you wanted to watch because it was so bad. Saved by the Bell. Everybody knows the Saved by the Bell show. And it was popular on syndication, and a lot of high schoolers and college kids, they watched it, even though it's goofy stuff because it supposedly reminded them of their childhoods. I honestly don't remember Saved by the Bell until I was older. But they are doing a Saved by the Bell themed restaurant. Now, I've done some episodes last couple of weeks where I've talked about them doing pop-up bars of Twin Peaks and places like that, Tim Burton bars and stuff like that. Now, this Saved by the Bell themed restaurant is going to be similar to their version of the Peach Pit, I guess, which is the Beverly Hills 90210 place. But I forget the name of the restaurant that they all hung out at all the time. It's going to be pretty much a similar looking setup with the color schemes and the way it's set up, so it feels like you're actually in an episode of Saved by the Bell, and they're going to serve similar food, but you can actually sit down and eat and have dinner or lunch or whatever there. So, I mean, I guess, with your pop culture, you want to keep, bringing stuff up about it and stuff like that and get people involved with it and interested in things that they've done and remembered from their childhood. I guess that's okay. Oh, Class Ring, there, good. I already did that one. Looks like Infinity Gauntlet. Yes, I already did that one. I talked about Harry Potter a little earlier. And I talked about musical theater also. This isn't musical theater, this is just a play, but J.K. Rowling, and I keep telling people this also because it is a terrible play when you read it without the context of seeing it on stage. But Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is a Broadway musical based on the Harry Potter series. It is a exploration of a future story with Harry Potter as he's older when he's no longer in school. His kids are going to Hogwarts now, and there's a situation that comes up, and there's time travel and all this stuff involved. And J.K. Rowling had a bit to say about it, but she didn't really honestly write the whole thing because it is lousy. Reading the play itself, because when they announced the play and they were starting to do the rehearsals, and right before it came out in England for its test runs, J.K. Rowling released the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child script in book form, so you could add it to your Harry Potter collection. Obviously, being a Potterhead, I grabbed it and grabbed actually a copy for my wife and for my daughter, who was at the time reading Harry Potter as well. And I read it, my daughter read it. I don't think my wife has read it yet. And it was awful. I mean, there were some parts of it that worked pretty good, but to me, it just seemed like fan fiction being made into a Broadway play that J.K. Rowling had very minimal amount to do with it because it didn't have her nuance and her ability of writing. This was literally like a fan fiction story brought to life. And again, would it be a amazing spectacle to see on Broadway? Sure, I wouldn't mind seeing it maybe at the Hippodrome when it comes out. I'm not going to go to Broadway and spend all that money on it when I could go see something else. Even though, you might want to see it on Broadway because the stage is bigger and you have bigger actors in it. But to be honest, none of the other actors from the movies are in it. And it's just like the big time actors from Broadway. So unless you're a Broadway file, you're not going to know who a lot of these people are. So it doesn't matter if it does it on a travel when it comes travels across the country and gets down to the Hippodrome or whatever. Would I go see it? I guess, but the story itself is just so terrible. But now that it has crossed the pond, it is now on Broadway right now. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child has been nominated for 10 Tony Awards, including, I think, Best Play. So does it have a chance of winning? Yeah, I'm probably sure, because it's got the name recognition. I don't know exactly how the Tony Awards voting works, who actually makes the votes on it. Are they going to be people who are just going to vote on the fact that it's Harry Potter? Or are they going to go on the basis of how good the play is? Because let's face it, a lot of the plays that have won Tonys the last few years have been like these movies that have been turned into musicals. Like The Producers has won recently as well. Does it mean that they didn't deserve it? Sure, I'm sure they probably deserved it. But it's the name recognition stuff is usually what draws people's attention. Or like a revival of an old school play. If it was an original play that's never been seen before, that has no connection to any pop culture thing, it might be a harder task for it to win any of these Tony Awards, or be nominated at least. But here we are, 10 Tony Awards. Do they have a chance to win it? Absolutely. Everybody has a chance to win. Do they have a better chance than others? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Reading it in script form is awful. Seeing it on stage is probably going to be a different story, because there's a lot more going on with the explosions and the magic and how they're going to be able to do all this stuff. That in itself would be a reason to go see it on Broadway or in a musical theater venue. But if you just go about from just reading the story and not seeing anything, it's crap. It's fan fiction. It's awful. I don't know if you remember back. I don't remember if it was Dark Knight. I don't think it was Dark Knight. I think it was The Dark Knight Rises, which was the last Christopher Nolan Batman movie. It came out, I don't know, 9 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. Maybe it was 5 or 6 years ago. But I don't know if you all remember Colorado, which had a problem with a lot of shootings in schools and stuff like that, Columbines in Colorado. There's been a few others out in Colorado. There was a movie theater shooting during the opening night of Dark Knight. I think it's Dark Knight Rises. I believe it really is Dark Knight Rises. At Aurora, Colorado. It was like the midnight show or something like that. Someone came in and shot up the movie theater, killed, I think, like 18 people, and injured a whole bunch of others. And it was a terrible story. And the guy was captured alive, and he's on trial. He might have already gotten charged with, and got his time set, stuff like that. It's become, and I've talked about this before. An independent film was made about the day of the shooting. I mean, what led up to the shooting, and I don't know if it actually shows the shooting and that what happened afterwards. But it showed basically a day in the life of people who were going to be affected by the shooting, people who got killed, people who were just wounded, and the killer himself. And that in itself is a really interesting idea. Now, being it based on a true story, I don't know. It's kind of rough. But in this case, I have a point why I'm going with all this. The Aurora shooting was awful. And it's been in the zeitgeist of the world and gun control and stuff like that. But it's been a while removed now. So when I saw this article headline, I was like, okay, I guess that works out about right. A person who was shot but didn't get killed, was injured in the shooting in Aurora. He was just signed by the Los Angeles Chargers. They signed him to an NFL contract. So the fact that this person survived a mass shooting in a movie theater, he is now going to become an NFL player. And that's kind of a feel-good kind of story. You want to hear that type of stuff that, you always hear about the people who die, which you should. But sometimes it's kind of good to hear about the people who survive and how they're surviving. You're seeing that now with that school shooting down in Florida, and those kids are rallying and are making a stand against the NRA. Now, with this story, someone who suffered from the shooting, survived, might have lost friends, in the shooting, I don't know for sure, but survived the shooting, is now going to be playing in the NFL for the Los Angeles Chargers. And that's quite special. Not everybody, and even if he just got drafted, and even if he never plays it down in the NFL, whatever, the fact that he actually was signed to a contract by an NFL team is impressive in its own right. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be out there and become a star. Man, maybe not, but maybe he will. I don't know. Is he just going to be one of these guys who's going to be on the practice squad for a while and then get traded around to 5 or 6 different teams and maybe play here and there once in a while? He could be. Could he, eventually get released and not sign on with anybody else and then move on to another job or whatever and just skip the NFL in general? That's true too. But the fact remains, he was signed by an NFL team to play for them. It's just a matter of him proving himself to the team, the coaches, teammates, the owner, so on and so forth like that, and making a name for yourself so that you stay in the NFL. And not everybody can do this. Not everybody is going to get drafted. Not everybody who plays high school or college football is going to get drafted by an NFL team. Hundreds, thousands don't get drafted every year. But somehow this person signed a contract with an NFL team and can officially say, I've been on an NFL team before. So good on that. Speaking of football, Super Bowl in London, the guy who owns something Khan, Khan, the guy who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, basically he plays 2 of his 8 home games in England, because I guess he's the only team that the NFL is trying to expand to other countries now, which to me is a bad idea, because particularly England with the time change, stuff like that, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, if you want to expand the brand, but why don't you stay closer to Canada and Mexico, where you're at least on the same continent and the time change is pretty much the same where it is with other teams. Like, you could put a team in Vancouver, British Columbia, and they would be playing in the same time zone as like the NFC West. So it wouldn't be that big of a change. Putting a team in England puts them in their own time zone, 5 to 6 hours ahead of the football teams that play on the East Coast. And that'll mess you up, particularly if you're a California team, and a California team would end up having to travel from one point at one time from California over to England. And then the team would have to go from England to California at some time as well. Maybe once every 4 years, but you're still going to do it. And it might be even longer than that, depending on where you end up. Say you're in the American, the Jaguars are in the AFC. And say, you end up playing, you end up in 3rd place in your division. Well, you are going to play other 3rd place teams where they finished that year. So what if the Oakland Raiders finish in 3rd place also? You're going to play them. Now, yes, you could play them in England, and that would be bad for the Oakland Raiders, but you could play them in Oakland also, and that would be bad for you, because you have to go back 9 hours, 10 hours actually, and then you've got to go forward 10 hours. That's going to screw you up if they put a team in England. It's not going to work. That's why you need to focus on a Mexico or a Canada if you want to do that as well. If you want to expand a little bit, expand on your own continent. But that doesn't make it interesting. Yeah, it doesn't. But you know what? It makes it even easier for the teams, because it's going to make the teams play bad if they're going to suffer through jet lag. And you're going to have to time it where, okay, all these teams are going to play in England, so we've got to give them a bye week, or the English team has to have a bye week after travels to America. And that's the thing also, for half of their games, the English team is going to have to travel to America and deal with the time change. 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours once you go out there. I don't like it. But my point is, the guy who owns Jacksonville Jaguars, he's likes the idea of getting fans over in England, and he's probably gotten some money from them as well and gotten them excited about the Jaguars. He's proposing putting the Super Bowl in Wembley Stadium in England. That's a different story. That's not such a bad idea, actually. It gives yourself another venue, a different venue. The only thing would be the timing, because everybody likes their games at 6 o'clock. That's prime time for the Super Bowl Sunday. 6:30 is when the Super Bowl's supposed to start, and it goes until midnight, usually. But if you do that, you're in a 6-hour time window. If you want to have the Super Bowl live in America at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Super Bowl teams are going to have to play after midnight. That's not good for anybody. Now, someone's going to have to bend somewhere, because you can't play a football game at midnight. It just doesn't work. But I would like to see it kind of work, because you get a 2-week window to prep for the Super Bowl. It's a one-off game. You're not playing, the next week you're not in another game. This is it. It's the end of the season. You're done. You win. You're the champion. You lose. You're done. You go home. You don't have to play another team again until summer. So I like the idea of maybe putting Super Bowl there, but you got to work out the timing. Because if you did it at 6:30 at English time, it'll be around noon here in America. So who wants to watch Super Bowl at 12 noon on a Sunday? Now, to be honest, that makes sense, because that's the normal time when they play. But that's not the point. Super Bowl is supposed to be special and big, and it has to be a primetime night game. So you'd have to figure out a way to work that out, because you cannot play a game at midnight. You just can't. It's not right. New Ant-Man trailer came out. Ant-Man and Wasp trailer came out this week. Could see a little bit more of what's going on. I think you even got a quick glance of what Michelle Pfeiffer is going to look like. You get a better view about the villain, who is the Ghost. And you get a little bit more general idea of some of the humor that's going to happen in the Ant-Man Wasp connections, and the way that they do stuff, and the entertainment stuff, and what's going to be happening in the series. And it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. That's the next MCU movie coming out, and that's coming out in July. So check it out if you haven't seen it yet. New Ant-Man trailer as well. On the death side, Toxic Avenger actor John Altamura died. He's the guy who played Toxie. And Paul Junger-Witt, who was a television producer who's done a bunch of shows, including The Golden Girls, he passed away as well. I think he had to do with, he did Night Court, I think, or at least the John Larroquette show. I think he was a part of that as well, which is like one of my type of favorite shows. Ooh, I'm getting down to near the end. Good. The Boy Scouts of America, a year or so ago, I talked about how they have changed their charter. We're going to allow girls and women to join the Scouts and get and become a Scout and get a chance to make Eagle and get all the stuff that the Boy Scouts do, because Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts have different things about they do things. So they are changing their name now to the Scouts of America, and they're allowing girls to come in and join them. I think there's one girl who has joined one of the smaller Cub Scout groups at the church where my son has his Scouts. So that's a good sign also. We've talked to my daughter, who is a Girl Scout, if she'd be interested in going into the Boy Scout, because she would be able to join like the Webelow area right now, which is what her area of where she would be according to what she's done in Girl Scouts. She really hasn't shown any desire to do that, which is fine. I don't even know if she even likes doing Girl Scouts anymore, but at least she's doing it, and not complaining about it. So that's a big deal. A lot of people are angry about that, which is a shame, because I think it's a great idea. My wife, who is a pack leader, troop leader, thinks it's a great idea, obviously. So DC is starting their own streaming service for TV, and they've announced a Swamp Thing TV show. And I thought the Titans was going to be on TNT, but apparently now it's going to only be on the DC streaming service. So now you got the DC streaming service, you're going to have the Disney streaming service, you got Netflix, you've got Hulu, you've got all this stuff. So that's the next big thing now too. So we'll see. I mean, CBS has the new Star Trek show you can only get on streaming, and it's not worth paying for something if you're only going to watch certain things and whatever. So we'll see. I don't know what else DC is going to do. Are they going to do more things? I think there's a Harley Quinn cartoon also that might be connected to the streaming service as well. And then probably going to be a few other things as well. I just don't know. But again, streaming services are, I guess, okay. But it's another thing you're going to have to pay for. And You're not going to be able to get stuff. So, and watch stuff like, when Disney does theirs, you're only going to be able to see Disney movies and Marvel movies and maybe even Star Wars movies only on the Disney streaming service. That one might not be too bad to think about getting because those are all things that we like. But the fact that you're going to have to do that instead of Netflix, and then it makes you think, well, should I still stay with Netflix then? Because those were a lot of the movies that I was watching and on Netflix, and now they're not going to be there. Should I just take my cancel my Netflix subscription and join this Disney one because that's the shows I like to watch? So I don't know. DC streaming services seems like they're trying to jump on the bandwagon again of things, and could it work? Sure, I suppose. I don't know. A couple of Pokemon things, and then we're going to be off. There's a Pikachu train in Japan, which is dedicated to the Pokemon, the most popular Pokemon in Japan. It's got Pikachus painted all over the train. It's a yellow train inside. It's got Pikachu chairs and posters and statues and all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you're a big Pikachu fan, there's the Pikachu train. Pokemon Go continues to, they appear to be doing, theme events every couple weeks. So as not to get bored, this theme now, we just finished the Earth Day one where you would pick ground, water, and air types, maybe fire types as well. They were spawning more often and you were catching more of those. Now they're spawning more fighting types. So that's going to go for a couple more days. And then they'll probably do another theme one. There's an adventure one coming up. So they'll be doing something with that as well. So you got that coming up as well. So Pokemon Go seems to be, they decide that instead of just going, one event a month, they're going to start doing more than one, like one every couple months or one every couple weeks to keep you interested in the game. I mean, I'm still interested in the game. It's still pretty fun, but I can see a point. And sometimes, it's best if it only sticks around for like maybe a week because now you're starting to get bored. Like, okay, more of these fighting types. I already got plenty of these. I don't need any more of them. So that's interesting. Why isn't this working? I've been trying to charge my phone and it hasn't been working. And I don't know why, which is weird. I've been plugging it into the same. It's not working. Oh, well, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Because almost at the end of my show, I know it's going to work. But it's weird, though, because this is still working, right? Yeah, it's still plugged in there. Anyway, so the final bit we're going to do today before I take off is my Check-I Day. My every day is a holiday. I already detailed what happened this week in May, but let's see some other holiday stuff that came out during this time as well. Let's see. It would be, let me clear that out. I don't need that. So we'll cover a couple days worth of stuff. So today's holidays are International Bereaved Mother's Day, International No Diet Day, International Permaculture Day, Joseph Brackett Day, Lemonade Day is today, sweet. May Day for Mutts is today, Motorcycle Mass and Blessing of the Bikes Day. I didn't know that existed. That's pretty cool. National Beverage Day, National Crepe Suzette Day, National Infertility Survival Day, National Nurses Day. So, hey, to all you nurses out there, happy Nurses Day. National Tourist Appreciation Day, No Homework Day, World Laughter Day. That was all today. Yesterday, besides being Cinco de Mayo and Free Comic Book Day, was Beer Pong Day, Bladder Cancer Awareness Day, Cartoonist Day, Childhood Stroke Awareness Day, Cinco de Mayo, Free Comic Book Day, Herb Day, International Drone Day, International Midwife's Day, Join Hands Day, Kentucky Derby, Museum Lovers Day, National Auctioneers Day, National Hoagie Day, National Homebrew Day, National Scrapbooking Day, National Silence and Shame Day, Oyster Day, Pilates Day, Revenge of the 5th. That's what it was, Revenge of the 5th. Was the May 5th day I was talking about earlier in the show. Totally Chipotle Day. And it also was like something like Nude Gardening Day was also May 5th. May 4th was Anti-Bullying Day, Bird Day, International Firefighters Day, International Space Day, International Tuba Day, National Candied Orange Peel Day, National Kids Fitness Day, National Orange Juice Day, National Weather Observers Day. No Pants Day was on May 4th. Petite and Proud Day was May 4th. Renewal Day was May 4th. Respect for Chickens Day, May 4th. Star Wars Day, obviously, May the 4th be with you. World Give Day. See, is there anything? May 3rd was Lag Bomer Day, whatever that is. Also National Day of Prayer, National Raspberry Popover Day, and a few other things as well. I'm just going to take a look and see if there's anything. National Two Different Colored Shoes Day was May 3rd. May 3rd was also Paranormal Day. And Sun Day was May 3rd. Sun. So that was some pretty cool stuff. So tomorrow, let me just read you tomorrow's days, and then I will take off. Thank you, my one viewer who's been watching the whole time. I will be taking off here in just about a minute once I find out what tomorrow's bringing. So I'm going to the Check I Day website. So you can do that as well. Check for yourself. Check, CHECKIDAY Day. And go to their website, or you can look them up on @CheckIDay on Twitter. Tomorrow is Great Lakes Awareness Day, Melanoma Day, Barrier Awareness Day, Cosmopolitan Day, National Meeting Planners Appreciation Day, Roast Leg of Lamb Day. Tourism Day is tomorrow, Paste Up Day. That's it for tomorrow. So not a lot of stuff tomorrow, but there's some interesting things going on there. So I'm just going to try to figure out why it wasn't working with my charging. But hopefully I haven't burned out my charger. Just maybe there's only a couple of slots on this thing that works. Oh well, because the computer's charging up now. That's it I got for today. All right, thank you for a lovely show. I'll be back next week, hopefully with MJ Khan. I'll be discussing with him this week when we're going to do it. It is Mother's Day next Sunday, so I don't know if I can actually do it on Sunday. We'll see if we can do Monday. They're not Monday, Saturday. If not, we'll figure something out. I will be doing a show sometime next week. I just don't know what it is or where it's going to be or when it's going to be. So until then, take care. Keep an eye out for my Comic Hall show. I'll be doing sometime in the middle of this week, and enjoy your week, and hope everything's good.